Do you think you have travel absolutely down? Maybe you do, but with these next 31 travel tips, I hope to make your next trip a little more smoother, more enjoyable, and possibly even a little smarter. So I've narrowed it down to these next 31 travel hacks over the past 10 years of traveling, and I think there's some sorry about that. I think there is something in here for everyone, and it doesn't matter in what stage of traveling you're in. I think you can take something away from this, hopefully. So some of these are more simple, some are more transformative, but hopefully it will help you somehow. So without further ado, let's dive right in. And the first tip is travel light, aim for carry-on only. Now, admittedly, this is something that took me a long time to be able to do myself. Over the past 10 years, I've kind of learned how to do this very slowly. Um, and yeah, in the beginning, I had two suitcases absolutely full of stuff. And only with time did I start realizing I wasn't using like half of the stuff, and I was always like leaving some stuff behind somehow. So it's something that you kind of need the experience maybe to get to the point where I am. But hopefully, I can teach you, how to get in that mindset of not thinking that you need everything that you think you need. And we're going to talk a little more about that today. I've gotten to the point where I only travel with two backpacks. Now, I am a content creator, so one of those backpacks is just full of equipment. I have to say, if I was not a content creator, I would probably be able to just travel with one 10-kilo backpack. And with time, you will start noticing that you don't need all the stuff. But if you could notice it before I did, before the 10 years of traveling, then good on you. It will make your traveling so much easier. And also that means that I can check in to flights while I'm still at home. And I don't need to get to the airport very early because I don't need to join the check-in line, which means I can just arrive for a domestic flight like an hour and a half before and just, roll right through security and to the boarding gate. It makes traveling so much easier. Not to mention you won't have to drag those wheelies down like those cobblestone streets in Europe. There are endless advantages to this one. All right, let's move straight on to number 2. Pack versatile clothing. Yeah, this is super important, and this actually will help you travel lighter as well. So that means basically like you can take t-shirts like this one, which is actually like a workout t-shirt, but it also looks kind of smart. So you can wear this on a night out. You can wear this if you want to go for a run on the treadmill, and you can even wear it on a date possibly. So that's one example. Another one is like for men, of course, is like a button-down shirt. You can use it for a more smart situation, or you can even, button it, open up the buttons and wear it at the beach for a more casual look. But I think the main item we want to talk about here are tennis shoes, because I only travel with one pair of tennis shoes, so they have to kind of serve many purposes. That means that they have to be like pretty good to walk, of course, and to go for a run, but they also can't look like too tacky on a night out or anything like that. Some brands I've used in the past have been like, Puma and I forgot the other one, what it's called. But anyways, I think there's a lot of great brands out there that will help you pack versatile tennis shoes because you only need one pair. I'm definitely not putting another pair of tennis shoes in my bag. All right, so the next one is always carry a universal adapter. Now, this is super important because you never know what kind of plug you're going to run into depending on what country you're arriving at. You need to be ready for everything. And with just one adapter, you will be ready. They're really cheap. You can just get one on Amazon, and that'll avoid you, arriving at your Airbnb and not being able to charge your phone or your laptop. Because let's face it, the first thing we want to do when we get home is kind of like, send some messages and stuff like that. And if you're not able to charge your devices, then that could be quite problematic. So it was super cheap. I got mine in Korea like 6 years ago. It's still going, and it's one of my best friends, and it's gotten me out of some pretty bad jams. All right, so always carry a universal adapter. Number 4, rent an onward ticket. There might be some people who don't know exactly what I'm talking about here. when you arrive at a new country, especially if you're a digital nomad, they might want to know how long you're going to be in that country. Now, sometimes you just don't know because you want to see if you like the country and you want to see if you want to continue there or not. So sometimes you don't have a ticket out of that country. And oftentimes with immigration, that does not go down very well. And now I learned this the hard way many years ago when at immigration, I was detained here in the Philippines, which is coincidentally where I'm at now. But I was detained here many years ago. I had to sleep at the airport for like 3 days. And eventually they got me right out of there, sent me back to Malaysia because I did not have an onward ticket. Now, how can you there's a loophole around this, right? So you can go to a website. There are many websites that do this, but one of them is called bestonwardticket.com, and you can rent an onward ticket. So, for example, if I'm arriving in the Philippines, I can go to this website and say that I want a ticket out of the Philippines in like 20 days or something, and they will issue me a real ticket from, let's say, the Philippines to Malaysia, so that when I go through immigration, if they ask me like how long I'm going to be staying, I can just say, oh, look, I have this ticket here. I'm only staying for 20 days. Usually they don't even ask to see that, but after what I went through, I want to be ready for anything. And these tickets only cost like $15. So for peace of mind, I would rather just spend the money. And oftentimes, the airlines will even ask you for this ticket to board the plane. So like recently, I've been noticing that's actually the more dangerous time when you might need this. So I would have this ready to go even when you are checking in at the airport, if that is the case. And that's why I check in from home as well. So bestonwardticket.com is a great website for that. And it's actually legal, like it's not illegal or anything. So there is a loophole in their laws or something. So they will issue a real ticket and you can use that at immigration or at check-in if needed. All right, so let's go to number 5. That is download Google Maps before you arrive in a new destination. This has been extremely helpful because sometimes when you arrive at an airport, they might not have free Wi-Fi for you to use. So if you kind of want to know where you're going on the ride to the accommodation, you're going to need to have Google Maps of that city or even of that country, depending on how far you're going. And that also means that when you arrive at your accommodation, even though you're going to have Wi-Fi there, hopefully, you won't have Wi-Fi to make it to the phone carrier shop where you might get data for your phone. So you will be able to guide yourself with the downloaded Google Maps from your accommodation to the phone carrier shop to get yourself some data. It's just, it's a good cautious thing to do before you arrive anywhere, and it doesn't take up much of your time. All right, heading on to number 6, that is research airport transport ahead of time. This one I think is extremely important. The first thing you should do, of course, is always check to see if in that country you can use either Uber or Grab from the airport to your accommodation. Now, if you think that's not going to be possible, then you have to research on average how much it costs to get from the airport to your accommodation. You can do that through some just Google it. You can see what other people say on Google, Reddit, whatever, TripAdvisor, and just try to get an average. You can also ask your host. That's a great way of knowing. If you have an Airbnb host, they can tell you how much it usually is. Sometimes your Airbnb host, if they're really nice, they might even pick you up at the airport. But if any of that doesn't happen, you need to be ready, because at the airport, that's where people try to scam you the most. So as soon as you go through the gate, people are trying to get you in their taxi, and most likely they're going to try to scam you. So if you know exactly how much you're meant to be paying and someone gives you triple the price or double the price, you can just laugh right in their face and say, yo, bro, I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to happen to me. Just go on to the next person until someone eventually gives you a fair price. Most of the time, when they realize you know what you're talking about, they'll give you a fair price themselves. So just be ready for that. Do your research. All right. Number 7. Use a maybe pile for packing. What does this mean? This means that you are packing your main bag, and with some things you're not so sure about, just leave them over to the side in a maybe pile. Now finish packing your main bag, put all of that maybe pile to the side, And when you're done with your main bag, if you have some extra room, you can start taking 1 or 2 or 3 of those items from the maybe pile and just kind of putting them in slowly. You don't have to fill your bag up completely. But yeah, that means you can take a few more items that you're not even sure if you're really going to need, but just in case. But don't fill your bag up completely, because that'll leave room for you to get new stuff. So it's like, I often take old clothes traveling because that means I can leave them behind, and often get new travel clothes, which might even be a pretty cool souvenir or something. And recently I've learned that I shouldn't take like very valuable, like emotionally valuable items of clothing that I have, because they're really difficult to leave behind. I've been carrying around this t-shirt for the past year, and it's really meaningful to me. I can't really wear it in many occasions, but because it's all like ripped up and stuff, but I also can't leave it behind. So don't get yourself in that situation. And as you can see, I still make travel mistakes myself. We're always learning in the travel sphere. All right. Number 8, learn a few local phrases. Admittedly, these days it is much easier with Google Translate, but that doesn't mean you should be whipping your phone out all the time. It gets really inconvenient as well. So there are a few local phrases that are really important to learn. My 2 favorites are how much is this, or just how much, and where is the bathroom, for example. So with where is and how much, you can get pretty far. But of course, it helps to learn other basic ones like hello and goodbye and thank you and you're welcome. Although you're welcome, you don't really end up using much because people don't really thank the travelers too much. But yeah, learning a few local basic phrases will get you a long way. And if you're really into it and you really want to immerse yourself, depending on your target language, you can start watching movies and TV series like months in advance and really be a pro by the time you get there. So that's learn a few local phrases. The next one is slow travel is better travel. This one, I've probably learned slowly myself, but this is the number one issue I see with people when I do like travel consultations and stuff, especially when people want to travel to Europe. They want to go to 15 countries in 20 days or something like that, and just these insane numbers. And it doesn't make any sense because you're going to be traveling most of the time, which I'm guessing is not what you want to be doing on your vacation, like actually traveling. You want to be enjoying these places, not like spending time traveling. And you get so many more meaningful experiences. Like, it's so much nicer to have some tapas and wine on the streets of Seville than it is to go visit some ancient cathedral that's going to be packed full of people. And when you have a lot of time, you can do both, of course, but like, which one is going to probably stay more in your memory, right? Is it going to be those like photos of the cathedral that you're never going to look at again? Or are you going to remember that chat you had with the very special travel friend that you just made, in the Andalusia sun, having tapas and wine? I think that's going to be much more enjoyable. So with slow travel, you have time to do everything that you want at your own pace. You're not always traveling, and you can speak with more authority on the destination that you have just visited. So if anyone else in the future wants any travel advice, you're much more ready to give that to them. So slow travel is always the best way to go, because you can always go back to these countries. And, I'm in the Philippines right now for the 3rd time. So if you want to go back to these places, you will. And there's always something new to see everywhere you go. All right, jumping into number 10, eat where the locals eat. This is extremely important, especially in places like Europe where there's so many like tourist traps in terms of food. A good rule of thumb is never to eat close to a very popular tourist destination. I think that hopefully goes without saying, because the food is really overpriced and usually bad. Another good rule of thumb is if you're walking down the street and those guys with the menus are trying to lure you into their restaurants, like, definitely don't eat at that place, because it probably won't be worth it. What I tend to do is, while I'm still at my accommodation, I tend to research somewhere on Google Maps that I'm like, okay, this seems like it could be a pretty good place to eat. And then I start walking in that direction. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to eat at that place, because as I'm walking down the street, If I see like a no-name place that has a lot of locals eating there, that means that it's probably really cheap and really affordable, and the food is probably really good, and it's safe because obviously there wouldn't be a lot of people eating there if it was not safe. And then I'll just ditch my original plan and eat where the locals eat. So definitely a good tip, that one. Let's go to number 11. Take walking tours. This is especially good for solo travelers because sometimes you arrive in a new city or a new country and you do not know absolutely anyone. And walking tours are a great way to meet people. And it's also a great way to get like a lay of the land, to really understand the city or the country that you are in. You can ask your tour guide a lot of questions that you may have about your new city. And oftentimes, the other people on the walking tour, they're just as lonely as you are, and they're also trying to meet people. So it's just really easy to strike up conversations. Good way of doing exercise as well. And as I said, getting to know the city that you have just arrived in. And they're free. Of course, do tip your guide, but usually they're free and they're really easy to find as well. Just Google it and you can find them pretty easily. All right, number 12 kind of goes with pack versatile clothes, which was number 2. But go with neutral colors. You want to be able to match your travel outfits easily, right? So, I have the occasional tie-dye shirt that I'm looking at right now, but those are only for special occasions. I tend to go with black, with white, with beige, because these things are just much easier to match. And that also means that you don't have to take as many items, because if a lot of them match with each other, then you don't need to be thinking about all these different outfits. Another thing is if you wear a lot of black, they don't show to be as dirty as much, which means you can kind of reuse them a little more. So I do tend to go with black, and that means you can kind of postpone laundry day a little. You didn't hear that from me though. All right, getting to the halfway mark here. Number 13, use Google Flights for price function. This one's pretty good because in the first years of traveling, I always used Skyscanner to try to look for flights. And recently I've been using Google Flights for this price function alone. Now what it is when you put in your flight and you go to check the flight prices, let's say let's say the flight costs like $100. On Google Flights, they will tell you if those flight prices have been less than $100 or higher than $100 in the past month or so. So it'll really give you a good idea if the price you're looking at now is a good price or not. So if you've seen that it's gone to I don't know, 175 or something, maybe it's a good idea to just bite the bullet and buy the flight right now. But if you've seen that it can fall to 30 or something, might be a good idea to wait and see if it'll go down again. So for this price function alone, I've been using Google Flights. And then if I want to know if the tendency of this flight is to go up or down, there is a really good app that I use called Hopper, Hopper, and that app will kind of help you, it'll tell you if you should buy this flight right now or if you should wait. So with Google Flights combined with Hopper, that's how I'm usually able to find the best flight prices. All right. Let's go to number 14, store digital copies of your documents on your phone. I think this goes without saying, but I've seen a lot of people carrying around their original passports in places where they absolutely do not be needing to do that. I even saw it last week. Some guy was walking around this Filipino party town with his original passport. And I was like, what are you doing, man? You do not need to be walking around with that. I haven't been asked for, especially in Southeast Asia, I haven't been asked for my documents ever, I think. And if I have, you can just show it on your phone, right? You have a copy of your passport on your phone, just show it on your phone. That's absolutely fine. Of course, on travel days, if you're going to the airport, if you're going to be checking into a hotel or a hostel, you should have your passport somewhere that's easy to find, but only on travel days. Otherwise, you will never need your original passport, usually when you're just walking around. So leave that at home in the safe or wherever you feel that it is more safe. All right. Number 15, stay at hostels for social opportunities. What can I say about hostels that I haven't said already? I've been staying at hundreds of hostels for the past 10 years of traveling. I've met so many amazing friends staying at hostels, and yeah, what can I say? Like it is the best way to meet people if you're a solo traveler. Um, they're always full of group activities and group nights and party nights and all this stuff. Nowadays, hostels used to be a lot for younger people. Of course, they still are, but nowadays they have all sorts of hostels. They have hostels, they're called, that are like a little more high class, high end. You have hostels that are actually just for women, or that are for people who are a little older. You still have the youth hostels and the party hostels. You have all sorts of stuff so they kind of cater to every style of traveler, and they're still the best way to meet people. Oftentimes, the other people staying in hostels also want to be social, so you just go to the common room and strike up a chat. And you can also learn a lot from other travelers, especially from like the local activities and stuff. What have they done? What have they liked? What have they not liked? Do they recommend you do that or not, etc. So yeah, infinite advantages to staying at hostels, and I couldn't recommend it more. All right, I am gonna stop here for a second to talk about something that I've been working on for the past year or so, and I just released it. It is called 10 Things I Learned in 10 Years of Travel. I have the link down to it below. Basically, today I'm giving you like all these surface level travel tips, but what I've been working on recently is this thing where I took my 10 years of travel, I took one lesson from each year of travel, one travel story that made me learn that lesson. And it's a really more profound wisdom of travel, let's say, where talking about conquering your fears and breaking free from routine, and just generally writing a life narrative that is more on your terms instead of just being stuck in the rat race. And these are things that I really had to dig deep and see how I learned each of them through these travel stories. And I thought, I'm really proud of it. I think it's quite interesting. So I'm gonna leave a link down. I'm gonna leave a link to that down below, and that'll just help you understand a little more like how much you can learn about yourself while you're traveling. And I will leave it at that for now. Please do check it out. It's called 10 Things I Learned in 10 Years of Travel. All right, let's continue on to number 16. Alert your bank. I learned this one when I was living in New Zealand, because when I visited Southeast Asia for the first time, I was like jumping around from country to country, and my bank in New Zealand was always blocking my card. And they're like, yeah, we thought it was, scam alert because you're always in a new country. And I told them, listen, like I'm just a traveler. I'm always going to be in a new country, so please stop blocking my cards. Nowadays, with these like more travel-ish credit card companies, you really don't need to be doing that as much. But it doesn't hurt, if you're going to go on a trip, which destinations you're going to visit, why not just shoot them a message, say, hey, if you see some suspicious activity in Cambodia, guess what? That is me. You have nothing to worry about. It doesn't hurt. So alert your bank that about where you will be traveling to. Number 17, use travel-sized containers for toiletries. This basically means like, if you have a big shampoo bottle, big conditioner bottle, big sun cream bottle, don't take the whole bottle that's usually like this size. Just go on Amazon, buy yourself some of these like small containers, chuck some of that sun cream in there, and that is much easier to travel with. If you want to be a cheapskate and not buy these, like you can just get them from your local hotel. I have no idea where this one is from. Probably like Egypt or Tunisia or somewhere like that. And yeah, I just have like some sunscreen in here, and that'll be enough. And if you need more, like just go out and get some. It's not that difficult. So don't travel around with like big containers. All right. Number 18, avoid exchange houses. Use ATMs instead. More specifically, never use exchange houses at the airport. They're always going to be overpriced. That is a big no-no. If you really want to exchange cash, just wait until you get into the city center. Maybe just take enough cash so you feel safe at the airport, getting your transport to accommodation or whatever. But don't be exchanging too much money at exchange houses, even if it is in the city center. Of course, what I always do is when I arrive at the airport, I get money out using my Wise card at the ATMs. and most companies will allow you to do that overseas now. I usually will try to not even use the airport ATMs if that's possible, because I can usually get like a Grab or an Uber from the airport to my accommodation where I don't need money anyways. But if I really do feel like I need money at the airport, I will use the ATMs. Otherwise, I will wait and just take out money when I arrive in the city center. So yeah, try to avoid exchange houses. ATMs are a better way to go. And always try to use bank ATMs, the ones that are actually attached to banks. It's always going to be a little safer. Okay. Number 19, bring a reusable water bottle for airports. I get really pissed off when I'm on a flight and I ask for water and they gave me this little teeny tiny cup of water. Like, no one likes that. So bring a reusable water bottle for airports. Of course, don't have any liquid in them before you go through security. Otherwise, you're going to have to chug it down. Once you get past security, you can find a water fountain usually, something like that, or even just buy some water, put it in there, and you'll have water during your flight, and that is really important. Okay, number 20. Noise canceling headphones are a must. You know what? I'm going to admit to not having these myself. That's just because I'm kind of out of money right now. I wish I did have them. They will save you from those crying babies on flights. You can jam out to your tunes, listen to a podcast, go into your own little world. And, that's not only on airplanes, of course, but of course on those chicken buses in Central and South America, places where you just need to escape. Noise canceling headphones are going to help you a whole lot. Okay, number 21. Book a place with a kitchen to save money. This is like my number one tip probably, and it's probably where I've saved the most money. I don't think we realize how much money we spend on deliveries and food and drinks and stuff that we get delivered to our accommodation when we're traveling. Oftentimes because sometimes we're even a little scared to go out at night in a place we don't know or something like that. So we're always ordering food. And nowadays, I always make sure to book a place with a kitchen. I mean, when I say kitchen, it could just be like a hot plate and a fridge, something that will help you make some ramen, some rice, some eggs. Just have like the basic foods around and a way to cook them, and you will be amazed at how much money you can save. I'm going to talk a little more about this on another item on this list. But basically, like, the more money you save when you're cooking at home, that also means that when you go out, you can go out to really nice places depending on where you are, because you have been able to save all that money cooking at home. So when you do go out, you're going to find you can actually go to a much nicer place. All right. Continuing on, number 22, ask locals for recommendations. This kind of goes without saying for me, but it's important to reiterate this because these are the people, obviously, who have the most knowledge about where you are, right? So every opportunity you have, whether that be someone at a cash register, a taxi driver, anyone on the street that you meet, your walking tour guide, ask people where to go. What should I go? What should I eat? What should I see? These are the people that have the most valuable information. So you need to take every opportunity to ask them. So that's ask locals for recommendations. Number 23 is travel during the off season. The number one tip here, of course, is do not go to Europe during the summer. That's just one example. Of course, everything is super overpriced. It's really hot, especially, Italy, Spain, and Portugal even. So, it's packed. It's just not worth it. You're not going to enjoy yourself as much. So I'm always going to Europe during the winter season. I actually like it quite a lot because I am from Brazil, a tropical country. So sometimes I like to enjoy the cold a little more. And I can't tell you how many times I've been to Southeast Asia during the rainy season. I'm not going to say everything goes smoothly all the time. Sometimes places do flood, like even just now, Koh Tao has been flooding pretty terribly. And when I was here in the Philippines, there was a typhoon, for example, when I was on one of the islands and people were having trouble getting off the island. But honestly, like, that just goes with the adventure, and it makes your travel adventure so much cooler, and you have stories, and it's so much more fun to share later. And even during that typhoon, I spent the day playing cards with people at the hostel, and it was so much fun. Probably one of my funnest travel days. So leave yourself leave yourself open to these experiences. Obviously, you're going to be spending a lot less money during the off season as well. So yeah, I totally recommend traveling during the off season. It'll save you money, and it will be more enjoyable because not everywhere is so packed. All right. Moving on to number 24, book long-term Airbnb stays. This is not possible for everyone, but if you're a digital nomad, especially, and you know that you're going to be staying at least 1 month in a place, just try to book your first month, for 30 days straight, because on Airbnb, the longer you book, the bigger the discount is. So like for a monthly discount, I believe you can get like up to like 30% off. And that's a pretty significant discount if you are a budget traveler like myself. So yeah, it's just a good way to save some cash because you know you're going to be there anyways, right? So might as well book long-term Airbnb if you know you're going to be in a place for a while. Number 25 is join Facebook groups to meet locals and travelers. Now, I know a lot of people don't use Facebook anymore. I don't use Facebook myself, except for the groups function, because I think as a traveler, it's still one of the most interesting functions to have around. This is especially true if you have just arrived at a place and there are other travelers who have been living there for a long time. So they're going to know a lot more than you about the place you have just arrived in. So any questions you have, just throw it on there on Facebook groups. If you're a little shy about it, you can even post as anonymous, and people will usually be very glad to help you. I've made great friends on Facebook groups as well. That's how I've met my good friend, my good travel buddy, Nikki from Nikki Post Travel Stuff. So Facebook groups is a great way to meet the travelers who have been there longer. And some groups even allow you to meet locals as well, who can kind of take you around and show you their own city. So, depending on where you are, you can just search Facebook groups for like foreigners in Tbilisi, or foreigners in Lisbon, or expats in Lisbon, or travelers in Lisbon, or in my case, Brazilians in Lisbon, or Americans in Lisbon. So depending on what you are and what you need, just search and you'll find the ideal group for you. Number 26, always book directly with airlines. This one kind of goes together with the Google Flights function, because on the Google Flights function, you will find a really good, flight, but they might try to send you to some third-party website for you to purchase your flight at. Do not do that. I've had really bad experiences with third-party travel booking agencies and stuff. I've even sued one. Because what happens is when something goes wrong, the third party blames the airline and the airline blames the third party, and you're just stuck in the middle being like, well, what the hell did I do? And this is falling on me. So do not book with those agencies. Just see which airline is doing the flight, go directly to the flight airline, and you will find the same exact flight there for the same exact price. And that way, if something goes wrong, you can blame the airline for it and you're not like stuck somewhere in the middle. All right. Number 27 is skip packing a towel. I haven't traveled with a towel for years and years. Especially, the big fluffy ones, like they take up so much space. Nowadays, they do have these like small, square, super fast and dryable towels. I think those are worth taking. Like they're literally that big. You can fold them down. But if you're planning on taking a bigger towel, avoid it, because everywhere you go to, they're going to provide you with a towel. At hotels, it goes without saying. You arrive, there's a nice swan on your bed. At hostels, most of the time, they will provide you with a towel. If they don't, they're able, you can rent one, usually at a pretty decent price. And Airbnbs, of course, just like hotels, they will have towels for you. So you don't need to be stuffing up your bag with towels. You have more important stuff to take in your bag. All right, this one's really good. Bring a waterproof bag. Now, it's not just because of the water. Obviously, if you're traveling to like Southeast Asia or something, you probably will need a waterproof bag, especially here in the Philippines. So, of course, it's good for that purpose. But I have one right here. This is the one I use. It's from Decathlon. It was very affordable. And it doubles as a laundry hamper. Okay, so I've got, I won't show you, but I've got some dirty laundry in here. But it has a secret function number 3. only if it has this like little air vent here. If it does have the little air vent and you're like a van life kind of traveler, which I am not, but I have seen this hack before, you can fill it up with water and then you open up the air vent and then boom, you've got a makeshift shower from your van. All right. So waterproof bag, laundry bag, and shower, 3-in-1. I mean, you got to have one. All right. And I've traveled without one of these for a long time. And when I did start traveling with one, it totally changed the game. So get yourself one of these. All right. The next one, this is kind of my taste, but it's helped me out tremendously. And that is have oats for dinner. I've actually been doing this the past 3 months and I'm still not sick of oats. Buy yourself a big bag of oats. Buy yourself some fruit, some coconut milk, some peanut butter, some cinnamon, any ingredients that you would like to have with oats. And you can have oats for dinner. It's a really like homey thing that you can eat before bed. And it's incredible how much money you can save with this, because essentially, if you just have some ingredients lying around the house, like, some morning stuff like yogurt and eggs and whatnot, and you have oats for dinner, you're essentially just kind of daily. You're only paying daily for your lunch, right? So yeah, what can I say? Having oats for dinner, especially if you're a budget traveler, that has gotten me very, very far. So I can't stress that one enough. All right, reaching the end here. Number 30, don't overplan, embrace spontaneity. This is a big one, guys. Like, fact of the matter is, you don't know how much you're gonna like a place before you get there. If you plan to stay a week at a place and you get there and you're like, what the heck is this place? This has definitely happened to me recently this year in Egypt. You just want to get the heck out of there. So if you're stuck in some place that you don't want to be, like, that's not what you had planned for your vacation. And the opposite can happen as well. Like, you're like, oh, 2 days will be enough in this place. And then you get there and it's like the best place you've ever been to. And then you can't extend your stay because you already have something else booked, and then it's going to ruin your whole itinerary or whatever. You don't need an itinerary. You just need to have a general idea of where you're going, and you need to have your first destination booked, but only for a couple or a few nights. And then just go with the flow, man. Embrace the vacation lifestyle. Stop stressing. Arrive at a place, see if you like it, see if you want to extend your stay or not, and then you can move on to the next destination. Now, of course, if you're going to travel during the busy season, like I have already advised you not to, it might be important to have everything booked beforehand. If not, just go with the flow. All right. And the last tip is search Airbnb reviews like a pro. This means that, especially if you're a digital nomad and a digital worker like I am, I need to stay at Airbnbs and I know exactly what I need to get the job done well. I need quiet. I need good internet. I need a good chair. I need all these things. So sometimes the listing will have like tons of reviews and you just don't have time to go through all of them. So go to the reviews and go to the search function and search for the words that we just talked about. So I'm talking about Wi-Fi, internet, chair, quiet, noise. Construction is a big one, because how many times have I ever arrived at a place and all this construction is going on that you have no idea about? So just search for this stuff and there'll be people talking about it, and then it's so much easier to see if it's the right place for you, especially if you have to go through all these listings all the time. And I have to do this every month, so it gets really, really tiring. And if you use the search function for Airbnb, you will find out what you need really, really quick. All right. Now, lastly, I just want to reiterate my ebook. There's a link to it down below. 10 things I learned in 10 years of travel. These are life-changing travel lessons. They will teach you how to conquer your fears and break free from routine and just build a narrative to your life that makes your life a real page turner, right? Like, that's why the motto of my channel is rewrite your story through travel, because I think that we can write a beautiful narrative, and travel, in my opinion, really helps you do that. And it has been a big part for me in making my life an exciting one that I'm proud about. And I'm so happy to share that in this ebook. So if you want to check it out, there's a link to it down below. I really hope I've helped you guys today. If you want to continue to follow along on my travel journey, I have placed some links up here. And I hope to see you on the next video. So just click on the video that's on your screen, and I will see you on the next one. See you right over there in 3, 2, 1.